Okay, we'll start off with where we left in the last week session. In the last week session, we discussed about how to create AR invoice, debit memo, and credit memo. So today we'll start with what do you call how to adjust an AR invoice, and then followed by creating of deposit invoice, guarantee invoice, and then chargeback, and then we'll get into AR receipts. Okay, so first we'll get into how to adjust an AR invoice, for which we need to set something called Upro Limits. So let me get into AR responsibility. Okay, so first thing is, first we need to understand what is the reason for adjustment, why we are doing an adjustment. Take an example, there is an invoice which is created against a customer for say 10,000 rupees. Okay, there are a couple of scenarios wherein he made us a payment of say 9,500 example, and he did not make a payment of 500 rupees. For the remaining 500 rupees we have been waiting since last couple of months. Even though we did a follow-up, he is not making us a payment of 500 rupees. So it's like then your company makes a decision that okay, 500 rupees being a kind of a small amount, we want to write off that particular 500 rupees. So if you want to do a write off of 500 rupees, I mean, like, write off is basically you are writing off as a, I mean, in the case of banks, you call it as a non-performing asset. So for all the non-performing assets, they actually write off the loan. So similarly, in an organization, for an outstanding balance, if you are not able to get that money from the particular customer, and if your company feels that there is no point in spending time and money in making a follow-up against the customers, and then you make a decision to write off, so that is charge that to against to your bad debts. So move that to your bad debts. So if you make that particular decision, then you need to do an activity called adjustment in the invoice. Okay, so now today we will see like how we can do that. Go to transactions. So just first try to create any invoice for say $10,000, sorry, 10,000 rupees. Okay, we are getting this error message because somebody has actually enabled a mandatory descriptive flex field at a transaction level. So there are two options throughout our session. We need to enter this particular value, some value here, some customer type, okay, or we need to disable this particular DFF so that we will not get this particular pop-up message. Okay, so this is a transaction for say 10,000 rupees. Now if you make a decision that you want to write off say 500 rupees, so how you can do that? You need to go to actions, adjust, okay, and here there is something called receivable activities. Okay, I'll explain you what is this receivable activity. So just select this adjustment bad debt expenses, okay, and what you want to adjust, you want to adjust the line amount. For how much you want to adjust the line amount? 500 rupees. So enter minus 500. You cannot approve this adjustment because it is not within your approval limits. So this is where your approval limits will come into picture now. As I do not have an approval limits, okay, it is throwing a message saying that I do not have an approval limits. Try to save this. Again, it throws the same message. Okay. Now what has happened is it is waiting for approval. Okay, so it's a standard functionality. If I do not have an approval, so it is now trying to go to my supervisor. Okay, now what I will do is I'll get rid of this particular adjustment. I'll go and assign the approval limits to my user ID, and then I'll come back to this particular screen and try to enter an adjustment for that particular amount, and then I should be able to save that, and I should be able to see the status as approved. Now it is saying waiting for approval because I do not have an adjustment. So what system does is it is going to check what is my approval limits, and if I try to do an adjustment over and above that particular approval limits, then automatically it will go to my supervisor for an approval. If it is less than my approval limit, then it will be automatically approved. So I'll try to delete this. You cannot delete this adjustment because please.
Arvind, if you start doing the adjustment, you will credit memo workflow will be run in the behind the scenes.
Not a credit memo. Adjustment workflow. Yeah, whatever you call. Okay. So this because yeah. In this case, it is going for an approval because I do not have an approval limits. Okay. So get rid of this. So I think I cannot even delete this. Get rid of this. Go to the approval limit screen. Setup, transactions, approval limits. Okay. Here I think I had already entered approval limits for my user ID. This is my user ID, and as far as the adjustments is concerned, okay, I have entered an approval limit of only 200. I mean, whether I increasing or decreasing, I have entered only for 200 rupees. But there I try to make an adjustment for 500 rupees. Then that's the reason it has thrown me error message. So now what I will do is I will try to make this or increase this particular adjustment limit to 501. Now if I try to go to that particular screen and try to create an adjustment for 500 rupees, it will allow. Okay, so here when you are creating an approval limit, so there are 4 different kind of categories for which you can create an approval limits. One is adjustment, credit memo, receipt write-off, and refund. So as far as the adjustment is concerned, this is what we have seen. And as far as the credit memo is concerned, this particular credit memo approval limits are used only if you are trying to create a credit memo from external systems, not within the AR. When I say external system, it could be from the external legacy system, or it could be from receivables, or it could be from advanced collections. So if you are trying to do a credit memo from any of these 3 sources, then only your credit memo workflow will kick in. Oracle documentation clearly says that you cannot use your credit memo approval workflow for the credit memos which are created directly in AR. Okay. And as far as the receipt write-off is concerned, again I'll explain you when I'm talking about the receipt. We'll not get into the refund, but we'll talk about these 3. Credit memo, obviously we cannot test that credit memo workflow. The reason being, we are not talking about the receivables or advanced collections within our training topics. We will see adjustment as well as the receipt write-off. Okay, for the time being, adjustment is minus 5012 to plus 501. Yeah, I think somebody's asking a question.
Arvind, this adjustment is only for adjusting the transactions, right? No other thing.
No, it's only for adjusting of a transaction. That too, when you are using this particular navigations actions, adjust.
And debit memo also comes under the transactions only.
Yes.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to query for that invoice whatever we have created. F11, control F11. So this is not this one, 7. Yeah, this is the one. Go to actions, adjust. Okay. Now put your cursor here. Forget about this one. Put your cursor here. Again the same. Select the same receivable activity. Okay. Line amount. So I want to adjust for say minus 500. Save this. Adjustment is in a pending state. Adjustment in status pending approval. More research or unaccrued charges exist for this particular transaction. That's okay. Okay. It throwed an error message, a caution message saying that there is already an existing approval which is waiting to be approved by your supervisor. So that's fine. Okay. Now, as far as this adjustment is concerned, it is 500 and it is approved. Okay. Now, try to requery this particular invoice and let's see what will the balance which it shows here. Okay, it is showing only 9,500. Can anybody explain me why it is showing only 9,500 instead of 9,000? Because there are 2 adjustments.
One is not approved.
Exactly. So there is only one adjustment which is approved. So obviously only approved adjustment will show here. So when you click on details, it is showing 10,000 my original amount, 500 rupees is the adjustment, and my net balance is 9,500. Okay, now coming back to the accounting entries. So when you pass your original entry, so can anybody explain me what will be the original journal entry for an invoice?
Receivables
Receivable
debit
account
and
debit, revenue account credit.
Yeah, receivable account debit 10,000, revenue account credit 10,000. So this is the original entry. When you pass an adjustment, okay, ideally when you are passing an adjustment, you are decreasing the balance of the customer. So that means your receivable account, whatever is debited here, should get credited. Am I right? For 500 rupees. And the remaining 500 rupees will go to the account which is mentioned under the receivable activity. So receivable activity is the adjustment hyphen bad debts. That's the activity whatever we have selected. And against that particular activity, I'll show you that screen. There is a account code combination which is mentioned. So that particular account code combination, there I think we have mentioned bad debts account. So that will be debited and receivable account will be created. Now if you run your aging report or any other report which shows the outstanding balance of the customer against that particular this invoice, it will show you 9,500, which is 10,000 minus 500. Okay. Now I'll show you from where system has actually derived this particular bad debts account. So if you remember, like here we have selected this is activity name. Activity is nothing but your receivable activity. So I'll show you the receivable activity screen wherein this particular activities is defined and their account is mentioned. Set up receivable activity 11. Okay. So this is the receivable activity wherein the bad debts account is mentioned. Okay. So when you are creating a receivable activity, you need to mention that receivable activity name, and in the type there are different types. So you need to select the type as adjustment, and that's it, and just mention an account. Whatever the account which is mentioned here will be picked up in that particular accounting entry. So this will be debited and receivables account will be credited. And other important thing is what was our invoice number? Let me requery. Okay, so this is our invoice. So can anybody explain me like where I can see the accounting entry for this particular invoice?
go to tools and view accounting.
Yeah, ideally tools and view accounting, but actually we did not even create an accounting. If I do tools and view accounting in this scenario, no accounting lines exist for this document yet. Please create accounting first. Okay, so first we need to do tools, create accounting, final mode. Accounting has been successfully created. Tools, view accounting. Okay, this is the secondary ledger and this is the primary ledger. So here we are able to see accounting entry of receivables debit, revenue credit. Okay, but you may ask now question like why system is not showing the accounting entry for the adjustment, which is bad debts debit, receivables credit. Okay, so the reason for that is okay. So the reason for that is here we have created an accounting entry only for the invoice. In order to create an accounting entry for the adjustments, you need to put your cursor here. Okay, this is the approved entry, right? Click on tools, create accounting, and then here you should be able to see the accounting entry of the adjustment. Okay, see adjustment account, which is your bad debts account debited and your receivables account got credited. So at the end of the day, in GL, this will pass to GL and this will pass to GL, and in GL if you see the receivable account balance, it is 9,500. Even in receivables also, if you run your aging report or some other report which shows the balance, it will show 10,000 9,500. It's only just that if you want to see the two accounting entries, so for the first accounting entry, that is for the invoice, you need to go to that invoice screen and click on view accounting, and as far as adjustment is concerned, you need to come to that adjustment screen and then click on view accounting. So any questions here? Okay. Okay. Now coming back to something called receivable activity. So I had shown you now the screen of receivable activities, wherein we specify there are some receivable activities which are used in certain screens. So one screen is the adjustment screen, wherein you use your receivable activity, and also when you are actually setting up of something called receipt classes and receipt methods, also you use your receivable activities. Of course, in a while I'll explain you what is receipt class and receipt methods. But before I get into the receipt class and receipt method, I need to create a receivable activity for two things, and those two things are actually used in the receivable class or receipt class and receipt method. Okay, let me go back to my BR100. Okay, so we have already seen this receivable activity. Now these are the two receivable activity which will be used in the receipt class or receipt method definition. And now I need to use these two I need to create these two receivable activities. Okay. So first I'll pick up the first receivable activity, earned discount. I'll explain you what is this earned discount and unearned discount.
Actually, what is a receivable activity, Arvind, in
Okay.
general term?
In general term, a receivable activity, you need to give a name and you need to just specify the type, and you need to specify the activity. Okay, sorry, the GL account. So take an example for an adjustment receivable activity. We have got adjustment bad debts, chargeback as adjustment. You can keep it aside. Okay, and loan conversion. Okay, so there are two adjustment activities which are available in the system: adjustment, the bad debts, and loan conversion. If you remember, these are the two things which are coming up in the adjustment screen. So system understand the receivable activities which are created with a specific type will be used in only those screens. So the significance of this particular adjustment receivable activities, you are just specifying the GL account which needs to be used. So at a high level, that's the only use of your receivable activity, because when you're doing an adjustment, you specified your receivable activity, you did not specify your GL account. So GL account is actually defaulted from this receivable activity. So whatever the activities which are created with the type of adjustment will come there as a drop down. If you remember, there it was showing only two things, right? Adjustment bad debts and loan conversion. These two things are coming up there. Similarly, we have got receivable activities for end discount, unearned discount, a refund, receipt write off, and there are a couple of other things. So for earned discount and unearned discount are the two receivable activities which are used in the receipt class or receipt method definition. Again, for the earned discount and unearned discount, I'm not sure, like for some reason Oracle, instead of just giving that particular field of the account code combination, instead of account code combination, it has given a field. It is asking me to select the receivable activity. So for earned discount, which is created with the type of earned discount, this is the account. So when I'm creating my receipt class or receipt method, I mention a couple of accounts like your cash account, cash clearing account, and other account. Similarly, I need to even specify your earned discount and unearned discount. These two are actually mandatory fields in that particular screen. Instead of giving a field wherein you can enter the code combination, it is asking us to select the corresponding receivable activity. So only once and unless and until you create the receivable activity, this will not come in the drop down. And unless and until you select this particular unearned discount and earned discount, you will not be able to complete your receipt class and receipt method. And without completing your receipt class and receipt method, you will not be able to start using your receipts functionality. So that's the background. Does this answer your question, Arendra?
But
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, I was not able to understand the real scenario wherein which we can use this receivable activities, like importance of the receivable activities.
Okay.
When you receipt, what exactly you wanted to do, in which screens this will impact.
Okay, so that's what I see. The problem is like I'm actually starting from the prerequisites before I go with your receipt class and receipt method. See, from your perspective, you know that there is a transaction, there is a receipt. Okay, in order to now we have already seen the how to create your invoices. Okay, or the transaction. Next thing is we need to do a receiving of that. But in order to do a receiving, I need to create something called receipt class and receipt method. Okay, but in order to create receipt class and receipt method, I need to do I need to complete a receivable activities for two things: earn discount and undiscount. Now, did you understand the flow?
Yes, I understand if you want to define a receipt setup, receipt class and receipt method you have to define. For that, you have to define receivable activity.
Exactly. So you have completed the invoices. The next thing is after completing of the invoice, next thing is I need to do a receipt. But in order to do a receipt, I need to have something called receipt class and receipt method. Okay. Because in the receipt screen, you will select this receipt class and receipt method. Okay.
Right.
And in order to define your receipt class and receipt method, I need to create two receivable activities. One is unearned discount and earned discount.
Okay.
Okay, so unearned discount and end discount, these two receivable activities are selected, and these are mandatory fields in this receipt class and receipt method. And when you are creating a receipt, you directly select this particular receipt class and receipt method. Okay, when you are creating a receipt in a layman terms, when you create a receipt, you need to specify to the system what exactly is the bank account. Okay, where you have received that particular amount. Am I right?
Right.
And that particular bank account is specified under the receipt class and receipt method. So when you are creating a receipt, you do not directly select the bank account name. You select the receipt class or receipt method name, and under the receipt class or receipt method name, I have specified my bank account. So that is the reason why you need to have one receipt class or receipt method for each bank account.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, Pradeep, you are asking something?
There are two fields in the receipt activities, right? One is the GL account source and tax rate. So what is the significance of these?
Okay, for the time we will not get into the tax rate courses, tax rate code source. So this is related to the tax. Okay, just concentrate on only on the GL account. Okay.
Okay.
Because see, if I try to explain too many things at this stage, you'll get confused. So this is what is happening now. Now I'm trying to explain receivable activities. Now you are not understanding the significance of that. So what I'll do is there are certain things which I'll explain you limiting to that particular functionality. I'll get back to those things. Okay. Later point in time, whenever it is required. Now for the receivable activities, there are a couple of other receivable activities also, like miscellaneous income and receipt write-off. I'll not try to explain these things now. I'll get into this particular. Now I had already explained this receivable activity, so now I'm explaining these two. Okay, I'll come to these particular receivable activities when appropriate functionality comes. Like when I try to, as far as this is concerned, I'll try to explain when I'm talking about the miscellaneous receipts. As far as this is concerned, I'll explain you when I'm talking about the receipt write-up. Okay. Similarly, as far as this tax is concerned, we'll get into that when we get into your EB tax. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
Okay. So as far as the end discount or unearned discount are concerned, which are mandatory fields which I should be selecting under receipt class. So here again, I am specifying the account for this earned discount. So, okay, in layman terms, the definition of earned discount or unearned discount is, let me just open that. Okay, unearned discounts are discount a customer takes after the discount period passes. Earned discounts are discounts given to a customer during a discount period. So that means, so when you say to the customer that you have created an invoice with a due date of you have created an invoice today and with a due date of 30 days like from now, so which is like it is due on today's 7th of October, so it is due on 7th of November. You got some kind of a terms and conditions with the customer saying that if the customer pays me within say 15 days, you'll give him a discount of say 5%. Okay, so that is called an end discount, a discount which is given to customer during the discount period. Okay, so on or before the due date, if you try to give any kind of a discount to the customer, that is called an end discount. But there are some special scenarios wherein for some specific reasons, Okay, even though the due date has passed, but still if you want to do some kind of an extra discount to the customer to favor him or whatever is the reason, then that is ideally called as unearned discount. And the reason why we have got earned discount and unearned discount is from an accounting perspective, you will have two different accounts, so that from your reporting perspective, it will be useful for you when you run any kind of reports based on the particular account. Make sense? Okay, so that's for the earned discount. So you created an end discount with the type of end discount and specify the account. And similarly, you need to create a one more unearned discount which I had already created. Unearned discount, just give the name of unearned discount, description, type as unearned discount. Again, these two are defaulted. Don't make any changes there, and select an account. So for the other one, we have selected a account 7777. Here we have selected an account of 7778 unearned discount. Okay, so these are the two receivable activities which are required for us in order to create the receipt class or receipt method. Okay, so keeping these two things in mind, now we'll get into the uh, receipt class and receipt method. I think I had already explained you the background of the receipt class or receipt method. These are the two things wherein you specify your bank account, and these things are actually selected when you are creating your receipt. Obviously, when you are creating a receipt, you want to know under which bank account that particular amount needs to be deposited. So for the receipt class, set up receipts receipt class. That's the navigation. Set up receipts receipt class. Okay. So I had created one receipt class of receipt manual. I'll explain you a Reliance manual. I'll explain you F11. Okay, so as far as the receipt class is concerned, first give a name. So I just mentioned Reliance manual. So the reason why I use the word manual is this receipt class will be used when you are creating your manual receipts. We are not going for an automatic receipt. So automatic receipts functionality is used when you are getting a file from an bank or from any other external legacy system. If the receipts are created in external legacy system, and if you want to import those receipts into Oracle, then you use your automatic receipts. Or if you get a kind of an auto log box file from a bank, that is like customer is deposited directly into our bank account. Okay, and from that particular bank you get a file which contains the details of all the receipts from so many different customers. Then you import that particular file as something called auto log box, and through auto log box you create your automatic receipts. But okay, in our training session we'll be covering only the manual receipts. Obviously we cannot test those auto log box or other automatic receipts functionality. Okay, so for the manual receipts I'm just using the word manual, and obviously the creation method is manual, it's not automatic. And remittance method is standard. So we got different remittance methods. So what is the meaning of remittance method? In general, if you are not using the remittance functionality, you select your no remittance. Okay, so these are the two things which are generally used, standard or no remittance. So in my current class I want to explain you the remittance functionality, so that's the reason why I selected the remittance methods as standard. So what is this remittance functionality? In layman terms, take an example, you received a check from the customer for say 10,000 rupees. So as soon as a check is received, what you do is you create a receipt and you actually knock off that particular receivables account. So you create a uh, receipt for that particular 10,000 by mentioning your check number, and then you try to knock off your receipt. But there could be a practical scenario that the check may be bounced or check may dishonor. It is not always necessary that check needs to honor. Am I right? You need to do another activity. As soon as you receive a check, you need to do another activity of taking that particular check and depositing in a bank. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you are using a remittance functionality, okay, in general, if you're directly getting a cash from the customer, and when you do a receiving or receipt, the general entry will be bank account will be debited and your receivable account will be credited. Okay, so your bank or cash account balance in your books of accounts is increased by 10,000 rupees, and your receivable account got created with 10,000 rupees. But if you are using your remittance functionality, instead of your bank account, there is something called remittance confirmation account. Okay, this is the account which gets debited instead of your bank account. Okay, and then as part of your so as soon as you create a receipt, this is the journal entry which gets created. Okay, so it has not hit your bank account, it is still lying in your remittance confirmation account. And then okay, you create something called remittance batch and send that particular remittance details to your or like send your remittance details, or you send your that particular check to your banker. Okay, and bank needs to go for your clear, as I think you guys understand the clearing concept, right? When I say clearing concept, now I'm talking about the bank clearing concept. Whenever you get a check from your customer, you go and deposit that particular check in your bank account, and bank will take that particular check, go to the clearing house, your Reserve Bank of India in India, an example, it goes to the Reserve Bank of India, to the clearing house, and it will get that particular check honored from the corresponding other other bank in the sense the customer bank, and then you get the money deposited into your bank account. Okay, so again there is a process. Okay, it's not like as soon as you deposit your check in your bank account the funds will get created, right? It may take a day or two. I mean, now because of the introduction of the latest technology, in some cases now it will be, even though you give a check, remember here I'm talking about only check, not the electronic funds transfer. So now because of the latest technology, yeah, now even though you give a check, within a couple of hours the funds can get credited into your bank account. So that's the significance of your remittance functionality. So if you are using remittance functionality, there are a couple of other entries which gets created. I'll explain you that in a while, instead of directly debiting your bank account. So there are a couple of other more entries which gets created before the money gets deposited into your bank account, or before you hit your bank account in your accounting entries. Okay, so as we are using a remittance method, I'm using the standard. Okay, in a while I'll explain you the remittance functionality. And clearance method, there are three clearance methods here: directly, by automatic clearing, by matching. So when I say clearance method as directly, so that means you will use this particular option if you're not using a cash management bank reconciliation functionality. So directly in the sense, I do not want to go with any clearing account. Okay, directly I just want the your bank account to get a hit. That is for directly. And by, and second option is by automatic clearing. So second option of automatic clearing is whenever you create a receipt, the receipt will go to, instead of going to bank account, it will go to cash clearing account. Okay, and in a day or two you run your automatic cash clearing program. So when you run your automatic cash clearing program, automatically your cash slash bank account will get debited, and your cash clearing account, whatever is debited here, will get credited. So that means what you are doing is you are moving the balance from, as soon as the receipt is created with the clearing method of automatic clearing, cash clearing will be debited. And once you run your as the name itself says, automatic clearing, once you run your automatic clearing program, automatically the balance will move from cash clearing account to your cash account. So cash account get debited and cash clearing account get credited. So if you see the net accounting entry here, this is debited and this is credited. Okay, so now the net impact is cash account got debited. So that is the significance of this clearance method of automatic clearing. And the last one is by matching. If I use the clearance method of by matching, that is where we can use your cash management bank reconciliation functionality or automatic reconciliation functionality. Okay, when you do your bank reconciliation in cash management, what you are doing is you are getting a bank statement from your banker which contains the list of all your receipts and payments. Okay, and then you run your automatic reconciliation process in cash management. When you do that, system is trying to check the receipts in your AR with the corresponding receipts details in your bank statement, and then once it finds a exact match based on your check number or your receipt number, then it is going to change the status of the particular line to reconcile in cash management. At the same time, in AR also, this entry gets generated. So if you are not using your bank reconciliation, just run your automatic clearing program, then this entry will be generated. But if you are using a cash management bank reconciliation process, then once the bank reconciliation is completed and once the line is reconciled, then this particular accounting entry will be created. Okay, I know it's like kind of over your head, like when I explain all these things, but that's the high level. But again, I'll get into more details when I get into your cash management bank reconciliation functionality. Okay. So this is the receipt class. Under receipt class, we need to have something called receipt method. So first I had created one receipt method. I made some mistake. So as I made some mistake, I had renamed that particular receipt method as do not use. So put your cursor here and press a down arrow. I had created one more receipt method. So you can create any number of receipt methods by pressing a down arrow here.
Hey, Arvind, quick question on this. When you're talking about clearing method, right? The multiple options you are explaining. Uh, Suppose, let's say scenario like I just need to use only receivables module. I don't want to do a clearing, and where I don't want to install the cash management.
Okay.
So then what is the ideal method? It is directly simply
Yes, directly. Yes.
clearing directly.
Yes. Yes. So even in our previous clients, we are not using cash management module and we have set the clearance method as directly. So all those scenarios wherein you are not using a cash management module, then set, when I say cash management module, bank reconciliation functionality of the cash management module. As I explained in R12, you are forced to use a cash management because bank accounts can be set up only in the cash management. Okay. But if you do not want to use your bank reconciliation functionality, set the clearance method as directly. So even in our current client, we have got a cash management setup for all our 40 operating units. Okay, but we are not using the bank reconciliation functionality for some other business reason. So we have set this clearance method as directly for all our receipt classes.
Okay, so in that regard, right? Like as you mentioned in R12, we definitely need to define banks and branches, accounts, and everything in the cash management.
Uh-huh.
So whether business people are using that cash management bank clearing account, the bank clearing process or not, but certainly from the configuration perspective, anyone can must have to go to cash management and define the banks. It can be AP or it can be AR. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Yes. So you cannot now, like in R12, you cannot say that I do not want to use cash management module. You can say that I do not want to use other functionalities within cash management like bank reconciliation, cash forecasting, and other things. But you cannot say that I do not want to use cash management. The reason being, you cannot what do you call you cannot set up a
Access
bank
back.
account, or like bank accounts are actually owned by the cash management module in R12.
Okay.
Of
So
course,
is it legal since it make cash management as a mandatory configuration for if I want to use a customer want to use only AR, is Oracle charging for that cash management also?
no. I've seen some clients. What I mean, even in this particular case, like there are again couple of things also. Like see, from a standard I mean, forget about licensing. Okay, from a standard product perspective, all the bank accounts are owned by your cash management module. So your all your bank accounts will be stored under your IBX or CE bank tables. So CE underscore bank branches, CE underscore bank accounts, and CE underscore banks. Okay. So from a product perspective, all the banks are stored in CE tables. Okay. I mean, if you want, do not. I mean, if you want to actually play around, what you can do is you can just bring the bank account menu to your receivables, and you can even start using from the receivables. What do you call responsibility also. So, but like from a licensing perspective, whether we need to pay, so that I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay, but from a product perspective, yes, all the bank accounts are stored under CE table. So for the cash management, the short name is CE. So for the accounts payable AP, for accounts receivable AR. Similarly, for the cash management, it is not CM, it is CE, cash entry. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can create any number of receipt methods. So first I had created one receipt method. So I had renamed it as do not use. And then I had created one more receipt method by name Reliance ICICI Bank checking account. So this is the bank account which we'll be using under this receipt class. So you should use a proper naming convention. So whatever the receipt method you have entered here, this is what will come in the drop down when you create a receipt. So it should have a proper naming convention. So the reason why I have given the naming convention as Reliance ICICI Bank checking is when I go to bank account, so I am using the ICICI Bank ICICI current account. So if you remember, like for AP, I have created an account called ICICI savings account. For AR, I have created one more account by name ICICI current. Okay, or if you want, I can change the name to current instead of checking. I mean, in US, current account is called checking. Okay, and let me just if you remember, your AP was done under Reliance. For AP, we have created an operating unit of Reliance Postpaid, and we have done all our transactions under Reliance Postpaid, which falls under Reliance Communications. And for AR purpose, we are specifically using Reliance Cotton Extraction. So for specific reason, I have chosen another operating unit under another legal entity. Okay, so now our AR is Reliance Cotton Extraction Operating Unit, and it falls under Reliance Textiles. So our earlier bank account of ICICI savings account is falling under this particular legal entity. That is the reason why now I have created one more bank account of ICICI savings, ICICI checking or current account, which falls under this particular legal entity. I mean, I can very well go to that particular bank account and assign the legal entity of this, but I was facing some practical challenges. Again, I need to go to the sysadmin, and there are a couple of other things. So instead of getting into all those stuff, what I did is I had created one more bank account, ICICI checking or ICICI current, and associated that particular bank account with this particular legal entity. Okay. So put your cursor here, enter your receipt method name, click on bank account, and put your cursor here, and then specify your bank name, bank branch name, and account name. Okay, and effective date will be defaulted as is. And this is where you need to specify your different accounts, and these accounts will be used for receipts, because when you are creating a receipt, this is what you specify, or like in the drop down, you just specify this particular account. Sorry, the receipt method name, and in the background these are the accounts which are associated with this particular receipt method, and depending upon transaction, okay, system will pick up the appropriate account from this list of accounts. Okay, so you need to specify your cash account. Okay, if you do a straightforward receipt without any remittance and all those stuff, this account will be debited and your receivable account will be credited. Receivable account will be picked up from your invoice. And if you are using a remittance functionality, then these two accounts, one of these two accounts will be picked up. And if you are using, if you are creating, again, when you are creating a receipt, I'll explain you all this stuff. What is unapplied receipt, unidentified receipt, on account receipt. So these are the accounts which will be used at. Okay. And whether you use your discount functionality or not, there are a couple of other setups for the discounts. Okay. You need to go to the payment terms, and in the payment terms, you need to set an appropriate discount rules. Okay. Whether you use those rules or not, unearned discount and unearned discount are mandatory when you are creating your receipt method. So that is the reason why I have created those unearned discount and earned discount as the receivable activity. So for all these rows, if you put your cursor here, okay, and in the drop down it is giving the account code combination. But unfortunately, for unearned discounts and earned discount, if I click on the drop down, it is not picking up the code combination. It is actually picking up only the receivable activities whatever you have created, and those receivable activities are coming up here. If you do not create any receivable activities there, and once you come to this particular screen, if you click on drop down, nothing will come up here, and these two are mandatory, and then you will not be able to save this. So you need to close this, go back to the screen, receivable activity screen, complete the receivable activities, come back to this particular screen, again recreate all this stuff. So now does this answer your question, Narendra? So why we are creating unearned discount and earned discount?
Yeah, Arvind.
Okay, and if you look at here, these two are mandatory. In fact, most of these things are mandatory. Now your everything is grayed out. Okay, again, another production support issue. So what has happened is in our current client, we have created this receipt class, receipt method, bank account, everything, saved everything, that's fine. And we started using this particular receipt method. After a couple of days, user said that, no, I don't want to use this particular cash account. I want to change the cash account. But everything is grayed out. Okay, so everything is grayed out. I cannot change that. So now only option left for me is to end date this particular remittance bank account. Put your cursor here, press a down arrow, and create a new row there with a appropriate bank account. Okay, so as soon as you save this, you cannot make any changes. Everything is grayed out. Okay, so if you want to make a changes to this particular any of these accounts, unfortunately you need to end date this, create a fresh row with appropriate account. You can create a fresh row here, or you can come back to this particular screen. You can even try to create a fresh. So you can create a fresh row here and click on bank account, and you can again select the same bank account with a different cash account. Any questions here before I proceed with the receipt functionality?
Then in that scenario, what about the existing transactions under that receipt class?
Yeah, so this is a normal functionality in Oracle. I am not deleting them. I am end-dating them. As soon as you end-date them, for all the existing transactions, obviously you should not have any impact. Even if you try to delete also, if you go to bank accounts and if you try to click on delete, I think now I will be able to delete because there are no transactions, I believe. But if there are any transactions, or if there are any receipts which are created against this particular bank, and then if I try to click on delete button, it will throw a message saying that you cannot delete this because there are already transactions created against this particular transaction, in the sense receipts created against this particular bank or receipt method. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I do not want to try that because if I try to delete that now, I think system may allow, because I don't think so I had created any receipts.
And Arvind, under the receipt method, we are creating a bank account, right? So, but we are not giving the account number anywhere. It's like we are only giving.
I got you. Like, so even here, say take an example plus. I'll try to bank name, bank branch name. So these are coming from the drop down. Okay, and I mean it's throwing a message because there is already an existing combination with the same thing. Okay, these are coming from the drop down. So from where exactly it is coming? It is coming from the bank account setup. So that means there is already a link there. So when I click on this particular bank name, branch name is automatically defaulting. When I click on this drop down, automatically this account name is getting defaulted. So all the bank account details are already available in this. I'll just give you an example. When you create your AP invoice, you just select the vendor name and vendor number and vendor side. Do you enter the vendor address, vendor and all other details? You do not do that, right? You just select only the master data. That is your vendor name, vendor number, and vendor side. All other things are already available in the system. So similarly, even here also, you are selecting bank name, bank branch name, and account name. That's it. So even in our hierarchy, we have got bank, bank branches, and account name. That's it. In the background, again, if this particular account name, the details are already available. Why do you want to show all those things again here?
Right, got it.